Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Do podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice. Nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity, designed for more than just therapists. If you're a helping professional in any way, diversity in clinical practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself. If you're encouraged by it as well, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one on one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on when values are more than differences of opinion. More and more these days, as circumstances require us to acknowledge the inequity of experiences in this country and in many ways around the world, we are also challenged with determining what role we will play in creating culturally safe spaces where everyone around us is valued and has a chance to live their life the way they desire. We also know that differences in the way individuals and communities of people live their lives has the potential to convey messages about how they value or don't value those who live their lives differently. Despite this often accepted polarizing tendency, I'm a big fan of the proponent of the idea that differences don't necessarily have to cause division and polarization. Our differences don't have to automatically be seen as negative or as a threat to someone else's well being. And the more we learn about our similarities and differences, the more we'll be able to learn how to live with those who seem similar as well as those who are different. And yet, despite this goal, which I pursue, and I encourage others to pursue as well on a regular basis, I can also acknowledge that not every difference is created equal. Sometimes our differences can be deal breakers and genuinely and unavoidably get in the way of our ability to maintain any kind of healthy relationship, whether personal or professional. This is less of a contradiction, but a challenge to evaluate each situation one at a time and determine whether it can be a difference to learn about and accept as a preference or opinion, or whether it's a difference that is more than just an opinion. To help you in this effort, I'd like to share a few brief considerations for what you can do when values are more than differences of opinion in your life. Consideration number one is this: remember first that differences are not inherently bad. In order to have a chance of healthily evaluating the impact of cultural differences, you need to maintain a position that there is a chance that differences could not be a threat that they may seem to be. Without this, you've lost before you started. To do this, I like to remember that similarities don't always make things better and easier either. For example, consider this layered reality. One, similarities are convenient because they reduce the effort necessary to learn about other people, as well as the likelihood that you may be asked to change from what you already find comfortable. Two, similarities are also inconvenient because brainstorming new ideas with people who have the exact same life experiences as you often results in generating the exact same ideas as you and getting stumped at the same time. Three, differences, however, make brainstorming more enlightening because when someone feels stumped because they thought of all four ideas, someone else is likely to add more to the list because they were inspired from different life experiences, not better, just different circumstances and experiences. And four, differences can indeed be inconvenient because it can require a lot of work to learn about other people. And the resulting reality that you learn about may require you to change in some ways at certain times. Seen alone, this reality can be the only reason people need to dislike those who are different. But seen in the context of all four possibilities, it can be easier to see that differences can be an asset, just as they can be an inconvenience. Going into every situation with the goal of determining which it will be can help you wrap your head around it being either one altogether and then give you a chance to see the value in everyone, despite the similarities or differences. Consideration number two is this: not all differences are created equal. James Baldwin famously once said, "We can disagree and still love each other, unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist." You see, some differences are just that: differences. Differences in preferences and comfort zone and ways of living life. Sometimes it's differences in decorations, genres of music, foods, celebrations of holidays, beliefs about the afterlife, leadership style preferences. The list goes on. There's so many ways of living life. Arguments for why one preference is better than another is just that. It's an argument. And people usually gravitate toward what they find most comforting or reassuring or the things that empower them to live their best life. However, when one person or groups of persons differing values and perspectives for what is needed for them to live their best life necessitates someone else not being allowed to live their best life, that's when we have a problem. This is where the ists and isms come in. For example, while racism is in part a personal belief about someone else's lesser value based on their perceived race or ethnicity, it's also more than just that personal belief. It's also about the actions those lesser values have on someone else's ability to live their best life. So much so that those actions have been often ingrained into systems and structures in this country so that they don't need to be explicitly said aloud anymore because a well designed system facilitates the oppressive behavior smoothly and subtly on its own. Add to it ageism, sexism, ableism, and many more istanisms represent differences that are more than just a difference of opinion because of the impact those differences have on the lives of others. Because of this, if you hear someone else expressing feeling offended by something that you see as just a difference of opinion, before defending the opinion or even minimizing the offense of the other person, take the time to explore whether or not that opinion is having more of a negative or oppressive impact than you may have intended. And this leads to consideration number three: continually evaluate the impact of differences of opinion. The more you evaluate the impact of differences of opinion, not just on you, but on those around you, the better you will be at evaluating whether the differences you see are worth learning about and accepting, or whether they're worth working together to change in search of something that conveys mutual value. This is what I think about when I hear polarizing political conversations where people conclude that they have to hate anyone who represents the other political party than they do. This is in part due to a belief that they are not only just hating people who are already hating them, but somebody who is actively working against them. Why do they believe this? Because of the conclusion that since opposing a political party supports things that they may feel are not in their best interest, then any support of that party by someone else means that you don't care about what's in their best interest and they don't care about yours. And why would I care about somebody else who doesn't care about me? Is often the feeling. Now, let me first say that as positive as I like to be, I'm also realistic enough to know and say that there is unfortunately merit to this belief system. For there are often times when you can encounter someone who genuinely does not care about you and who wants your life to be more difficult. This is real. However, I also know that not everybody who votes differently than you hates you. I've encountered so many people personally and professionally who not only have a lot of similarities in general, but actually have a lot of similarities regarding what they think is best for their family, their broader community, their city, their state, their country as a whole, and ultimately the world. But interestingly, despite all of these outcome similarities that they share, they differ in which political candidate they think is best suited to bring about those similarly valued outcomes. Should they hate each other because of this? Absolutely not. This is a perfect example of people learning to say, hey, I hope your preferred candidate loses and mine wins. But I also hope that we both get the country that we both feel we can live in, no matter who wins. Or when faith leaders struggle and say that, sure, we have vastly different beliefs about how the world will begin and how how what will happen when we die. But is it also possible that we can value what lives we live in the meantime? And maybe we can work together to positively impact the community and the individuals and families within them today. Is this discernment process easy? No. But the more you consider both possibilities, the more you can honestly see both. It is then when you can appreciate the opportunity to unite despite differences, and then make the difficult decision to confront differences that do divide, not because they're different alone, but because they are motivated by a skewed value and a lessening of one or more groups of people over others. With all that being said, my hope for you is that you would be willing to see the pros and the cons of similarities as well as differences, and not automatically conclude that differences necessitate division. And then, when after gracious evaluation, differences do convey a lesser value, you can know that it's not just rigid thinking or a negative perspective or mood that's the problem, but it is your reasonable desire to protect your right to coexist, to be valued, and to have equal opportunities as a legitimate reason to stand up against such oppression. I hope how you do so is healthy. Knowing that healthy doesn't mean being quiet, doesn't mean always being convenient, and it may not come with a smile. And that's often because that's not what always motivates people to change. Be open to change yourself, both the one that actively seeks it and the one who is receptive to someone else's request for it. Not because it meets your needs all the time, but because it meets others' needs as well. Other needs which are different, but are also nonetheless valued. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you have any pressing diversity related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame free or empowering guest speaker or training on this often difficult topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know anyone else who can benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on the often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share it with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
What's up, everyone? It's Shaletta. I'm here getting a phone for one of my newly minted teenagers with Xfinity Mobile. They've got great options, affordable plans, and solid coverage that works for our whole family. With Xfinity Mobile, my daughter can stay connected with me wherever she goes. And did you know when you sign up, you can get an extra phone line free for a full year? Switch to Xfinity Mobile today for more savings, more smiles, and more ways to stay connected.
When she walked in on her first day at Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas, she didn't know a soul.
I'm Zion, and I'm a second year at DFC.
A year later, and so many changes for Zion.
I love my friends here. I couldn't do anything without them. We support each other all the time.
At Doherty Family College, Zion also finds support on the academic side. Like all DFC students, Zion can count on a team committed to her success. Doherty Family College is Minnesota's affordable private college option. DFC students earn their associate's degree, and then can transition to a 4-year college or university for their bachelor's. Many are students of color or first in their family to go to college.
It's nice to see people that look like you pursuing an education, wanting to succeed academically.
Zion encourages any high school student looking for a college home to do what she did and apply to Doherty Family College.
All the support you could need is here.
Ready to make your move and experience Doherty Family College for yourself? Then schedule your visit to the Minneapolis campus at dfc.stthomas.edu/visit.